This is the Be One Change One podcast, where our mission is to help listeners define values, practice integrity, and inspire change.
Our vision is to mentor men and empower them to achieve more by taking responsibility for shaping their own lives.
He's CAS, an evolving man who has been shaped by adversity and continues to grow through his imperfections.
And he's Roscoe, an imperfect work in progress that tries to suck less every day.
Between us, we have over 40 years of Air Force fighter pilot experience with countless hours as trainers, instructors, and mentors.
Join us and learn to take responsibility for your own life as we dive into subjects from leadership to resilience to vulnerability.
Be the one who changes their course. Be decisive, driven, and purposeful. Set the example for others. Lead. We wish we'd had this show when we were younger men.
Be the one. All right, we're good to go.
Testes.
Yeah, we
Nice.
definitely kept it. The keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
is definitely the. I don't even want to call this a studio. What do we call
It's
this?
not. It's a room in my house
Just a,
with some fucking blankets in it, a couple microphones.
so
Although you listen to this shit online, dude, and I think you guys appear to have a lot more credibility than you actually do when I'm sitting here with you.
Yeah,
it's not.
it's really unimpressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of underwhelming.
Yeah.
So when we Cass and I became empty nesters right around the same time,
Yeah.
and he turned his extra room into a podcast place, and I turned mine into a sex dungeon. So I think I'm winning.
Yeah, he's winning.
Over here's the ammo. Over here are the sex toys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neither one of those projects are making us any money. So I don't know.
Anyway.
I'm probably having as much fun doing this as I am with my sex dungeon, which is a whole nother story. But I kind of suck at empty nesting. Anyways, Cass, what's up today, man?
Yeah,
what are we
dude.
doing?
Well, we just thought we'd get together and have a cool guy story episode, and we
So why
invited.
the fuck's he here?
We invite exactly right. We
Third,
decided
third chair.
we decided to invite a friend and a bro. So
Yeah.
Rob Francis Brimmer is going to join us.
That's his call sign, not like a third.
yeah,
name or something.
Francis is his
Yeah.
call sign.
Yes.
Another Viper dude, badass guy.
Cool.
So
Stand up. Tell us about yourself.
yeah,
I was
Sit down,
born.
asshole.
Never.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny because I don't know if we ever talked about. I mean, I know we did some.
We did the
Fire
traditions
Power
one, but I don't
traditions
think,
one,
I
but
don't think we
ever
skipped
talked
over
about that. So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe we should talk about that. Francis, tell us about yourself.
The world doesn't care about our out in public. It's like,
Yeah,
You know,
No.
honestly, we did that back. We recorded that in beginning of November.
yeah.
On our remote. We were both in hotels,
Yeah,
and we recorded that. And at the time, that was one of our highest listened to episodes.
yeah. People wanted to know
because
about
I don't know. I guess people were gay by curious about that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I don't know, but
they want a
It-
window into the crazy.
yeah.
yeah. What
Yeah.
the fuck? What
Yeah.
made these guys so weird?
Yeah. Where do we start?
But yeah, we picked. I don't know what, maybe 10.
Yeah,
or so.
we picked. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was like 5 to 10.
We went through like roll call stuff and
Yeah.
dollar rides
I
and
a
remember
little
that.
bit of
Yeah.
nameage.
a little bit of
Yeah.
nameage. Not we didn't get too
We
deep
didn't.
into
We
that.
didn't
but
talk specifically about
Yeah.
some of the strong kept rules.
The ones that get people fired.
Yeah.
So, anyways, one of the traditions was when a guy shows up to a squadron, and it doesn't matter. I mean, this guy could be a fucking 06.
Yeah,
25-year veteran shows up to a squadron for the first time, and you go, "Hey, stand up and tell us about yourself a little bit." And as soon as he opens his mouth,
everybody just starts.
duck
Or as soon
because
as he
shit's getting
stands up,
thrown. And
yeah. People.
No, I went to one where they were naming a honorary squadron commander. This is a normal
Oh yeah,
person. This
guy
is
doesn't know.
he has no fucking clue.
affected by the psyche yet.
Yeah.
So he's trundling in and just walks into this buzzsaw. And he can't, do you know Rory Collins?
No.
Awesome. He can't get his mind around the fact that we really don't need him to talk.
Yeah.
So we went around about 9 iterations of the sit down asshole, and he still just.
Those are my favorite. The guys that are like, "No, really, listen,
Yeah, no,
shut
no.
the fuck
Yeah.
Some other guy comes in the bathroom and goes, no, he's really a good guy. Let him go.
shut the fuck up."
Yeah. So if you ever do go to a fighter squadron, shut your fucking hole
That's
because
right.
nobody cares.
Know your role. Shut your
We
hole.
had this similar
Sit in the
thing.
corner.
In fact, I think it was when we were in the spikes together. Remember Stranger? Remember that? Yeah. We won't tell the Stranger story, but
Yeah, tell the story behind.
we had a casual lieutenant that showed up, and she was cool, and she was with us for I don't know what, maybe 3, 6, and 9 months, and we decided to name her. And she had no idea what the fuck she was getting into when we did the naming.
Wait, she was a casual?
Yeah, she was a
Okay.
casual lieutenant. She
Right
had she had just finished ROTC or maybe even
She's
the
doing like
academy. I don't know.
scheduling, run around.
Yeah, she was just doing shit in the squadron.
It's still
for
wearing
Commander's
flight
Beach.
suit, so that's cool. And then we
We
shut
set
the
it
door, and do the naming, and it's a whole new world.
Oh God, she was. We could have done a better job of preparing her for that. I'll just leave it at that.
This is how this is gonna go.
Yeah.
Well, don't just stop there. Holy shit.
No,
This
I-
suspense is killing me.
I know, but listening to the podcast, I like listening to you guys.
That's uncomfortable, dead
That's
space.
exactly it.
The uncomfortable silence.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just sit here and fucking stare at
It's
each
just
other.
because the gears are spinning sometimes, and I don't know what the fuck to say.
It's just turned into an episode of The Men Who Stare at Goats or some shit.
Oh,
The fighter pilots who stare at each other.
No, she's gonna pass out first. So I think she had to. I think because she kept talking, she had to eat a raw eggshell and all. That was puking into the garbage can
Starting
on the
that show.
stage. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
shot of
crazy.
weed with an
That-
oyster in the bottom.
Yeah, there was all kinds of good stuff that night.
oh.
Shot of weed is Jeremiah weed. We don't smoke weed in the fighter bar.
No,
So for all you fucking, I'm going to stop there.
why?
I was about to say the N word,
Oh,
and
Oh.
I was about to say Nazis.
Oh.
Get
Okay,
your-
now I can say just about anything.
get
on
your
the
mind
list
out
of
of
things
the
I was
gutter.
gonna say.
Yeah.
No, I think when we first got in, those traditions were very at the forefront.
When did
Oh,
you
yeah.
When did you get to your first fighter squadron?
Man, I was late rated, so I had a strong 1.9 at the academy.
All right, bring it
So
strong.
yeah, no effort
Hey,
wasted.
minimums are there for a reason, man.
no effort.
especially if you're underneath the minimum. Yeah, everybody in my family was in town for graduation, and I wasn't real sure I was graduating.
Really?
Yeah,
It was
one of those.
An interesting.
It was
event.
one of those, huh?
Yeah. No, but my first fighter, I went to AWACS for 3 years, sat in the back.
Like ABM.
Yep.
Yeah, right on.
ABM's air battle manager for
Yeah.
people that don't.
Scope dope.
There you go. And then got into pilot training, went to Columbus, went to fighter lead in, ended up at Luke in 99, and then Hill right after that. And
So Luke here for the B course, and then
Mhm.
first actual op squadron was Hill.
was Hill.
Okay.
But yeah, back as a student in the Spikes, those namings were full up. dude.
Oh yeah.
Like brick back to the face in a good way.
Yeah.
But did we fail when we came back as IPs? It was very different, both climate wise,
Yeah.
because of what we could do,
Yeah.
and how that affects what we brought to the namings as instructors. Right? It was
Yeah.
just different.
It was.
Um,
And it continued to get different.
It did, and that evolution was a boulder over the cliff of not cool, not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So wait,
there's
this
some
was-
things about that build a great amount of camaraderie, right? 'Cause
This is
it's like
somewhere around early
it's
2000s.
a rite of passage.
Single
Well,
digit
so
2000s.
we were in the Spikes together from 05 to 07.
Okay.
So
Okay. So right before all the shit went down.
yeah, it was before the Shaw incident
Yeah.
Yeah.
where everything really started to get the kibosh.
Mhm.
yeah. Before
But-
they showed up to the squadron and collected all the mugs and all the books
Mhm.
and all the things.
Yeah, I was gone by that
Well,
time
yeah.
that happened. I was in Hawaii, but I heard about it.
I'll never forget it.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Dude, that shit had a ripple effect throughout the Air Force.
Yeah.
Because my story with that was I was downrange as an ALO at the time, right? And so this had to have been fall of 12 when it finally reached me on the ALO side, right? And I had to go from Fob Salerno, I had to jump on a Black Hawk and go to each one of my fobs where I had JTACs and inspect their quarters to make sure they had sanitized everything. And I mean, these guys have like dick pics and drawings of chicks on their fucking computers and all
Yeah.
kinds of, on their desk and everything. And so I told the guys, I was like, okay, I mean, I tried to be cool about it. I got to do what I got to do as the boss, but I'm like, all right, guys, as long as I don't see it,
Yeah.
I can report with confidence and integrity that the place was. You should have seen they had wallpaper. They had wallpapered over the walls, and as soon as I left, that shit came down.
Yeah.
The computer screens. This is how they fix their desk. They moved the keyboard over the drawings, and as soon as I left, they just pushed it back. It was great, but yeah. So that it really that came down from. I'm guessing it went from ACC Shaw up through the Air Force and then back
Yeah.
down through
All
all
the
the
MAGCOM,
tributaries. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it happened. Yeah, I was in Hawaii at Paycom and I got interviewed by the IG via, teleconference in Hawaii, some lieutenant colonel about the stuff that went down at Shaw, because I was in the shooters, which was the squadron that the sergeant was in that had collected all the stuff. And so, yeah, wow. That was fun.
Well, it came with a vengeance, so to speak. I was sitting in the bar when they came in and all the booby mugs and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
I remember going through the TX in 13. This was summer of 13. And wing commander comes in, introduces, hi, welcome back to the Strike Eagle, goes out. She's in there 5 minutes tops. But in that 5 minutes, she went around and she goes, okay, so just everybody go around and introduce yourself, name, call sign, where are you going? And she go, the whole room, there's, I don't know, maybe 10 of us in the room. Actually Strike Eagle squadron, so probably 20 of us in the room. So next person that walks in, she walks out, hey, thanks for coming, everybody. Next person that walks in is the OG, and all he said was, you and you got to change your call signs. And he walked out. That was it. He's like, seriously, 60 seconds or less. Wow. And the one guy, I don't want to name drop him, but God, it's hard to tell that story if I don't name drop him. You know what? Fast forward. I'm not even going to tell that because I can't tell the story without him name dropping. But bottom line is he looked at the guy. He goes, no, that's my name. That's my mom gave me that name. And it sounds like a call sign. But anyways, that's a terrible story. I suck. Fuck.
Well, when Bodie Bacon and I Bodie was the commander of the 308. That was the DO in the 308. And we had our last B Corps squadron was coming in. And because the 308th was about to shut down because they were going to transition to F-35 and the 308th jets were going to Holloman. So we get our last B Corps squadron in, right? And so we go over to the academic center, and they're in there for their first day, welcomes or whatever. And Bodie and I go over there, and Bodie gets up there and he starts talking about a bunch of stuff. And at the end of it, he basically goes, so basically, I'm your fucking dad for the next, 9 months. And so if you guys have any problems, if there's something that you need worked out, if you're getting into any issues, come talk to me. And then he hands it over to me, and I walk up there and I go, well, I'm not your fucking mom. Wow. I go, let's get that straight right now. I'm not your fucking mom. So
that era though was part of the curtailing. Yeah. I don't know if actually I'm speaking from my own experience of there's a balance to a fighter squadron.
Yeah.
And either it's balanced by Bodie and you, or it is not.
Yeah, that's very true.
And if it's not, it goes nowhere else. It's not academia. It's nothing. It is you and him unable to figure this out. And having been in more of them out of balance than finding that balance, you walk into that balance and go, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you guys were quite the pair. It was good.
It was good, man. We had a lot of fun in that squadron.
It was good. And then moving on to other things, it was not good.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Well, you can't just throw that grenade on the table and not explain it. So.
Well, as I say these things, I'm worried about who's listening.
No,
nobody. That's the answer. Nobody's listening.
Yeah. This one will go in the archives.
Yeah, well, I mean, leadership's important, right? And the way that leadership manages a squadron and the way that you allow people to build bravado, the expectations that are placed, the standards that are made, or, the standard that's held in a squadron, all that stuff's very important.
Yeah.
And if that stuff doesn't exist to a certain extent, then it does. The wheels fall off the bus very fast.
Yep. Did you find it better to have like a good cop, bad cop combo?
No, it's not even about being good cop, bad cop. It's just about setting expectations. I mean, I had an open door policy, guys. I had students that would come in and talk to me all the time. I wasn't like trying to be a dick to him. I'm just like, yeah, he's the guy, he's the commander. He's the guy that's going to have to go answer the mail when you decide to go fucking get a DUI or something stupid like that, So yeah, he's here for that. That's the role that Bodie wants to play for you guys. I'm not your mom. My job is to turn you into a fucking fighter pilot.
Yeah.
And so guess what, boys? Nut up. Here we go. Like, here's the standard in the squadron. We're going to do everything we can to get you there. You got to do your part of it.
See, that's good. Now we're getting to some good shit, because really what you're doing is you're helping these people hone that mentality of being a stone cold fucking killer.
Yeah,
right. And it doesn't matter if you are kicking down doors in Afghanistan and throwing flashbangs, or if you're flying multi-million-dollar fighters, you have to have that mentality.
Yeah.
And you have to, we talk all the time, Francis, about the fighter pilot mindset of you have to know, you have to be confident, and you have to know that you can do this shit. Right. You can't go up there and half-ass it. Now, I say all the time, man, when you poke your nose into a fight at 500 miles an hour and you don't have a reverse option, if you don't have your shit together, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. And in that mentality, it's just, there is only forward. There is no,
that's it.
Back.
You move, you shake, you
do
keep
that
moving.
enough, I guess you just know that I'm going to force this the way I want it to be, and I'm going to exert my will on this situation either way.
Yeah, well, again, it goes back to that mentality, Roscoe, right? Like, because at the end of the day, when we go to war with people, it's like I've said before, man, right? Like, when you show up to a fighter squadron, your job by default is to win. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no, when you fucking merge with somebody else, there's no second place, dude. It's you or him. Yep. You know, when you're doing the shit, you're either killing bad guys or you're allowing good guys to die because you're taking too fucking long to sort it out and get it done.
Yep.
I mean, you've got to be on your A game every day. And so you got to figure that shit out. And if you can't win, if you're not capable of that mentality and you don't have the aptitude for that, then you don't fucking deserve to be here.
Yep.
Because there's too much on the line when it actually goes down.
Yeah, I was more of a BBR kind of guy. I didn't have the energy for a sustained fight like that, so it was more of a out at desired outrange. But no, you're absolutely right, man. And you know, I was reading something the other day, and it said when you go into something with the mentality of when you have to take advantage of every single advantage that you have. And man, if I get into a fight with anyone, and I mean, I can count on one hand with 3 fingers missing how many fights I've ever been in, like fist fights in my whole life. But I guarantee you, if I got in one now, dude, I'm biting a motherfucker. I'm scratching eyeballs. I'm pulling hair. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because you have to win.
Yeah, you have to win.
You have to use every tool at your disposal to be able to win. And, you know, that's a big challenge when you're talking about the complexity of the mission sets and the aircraft and the dynamics. And I mean, it goes well beyond that. It goes into teamwork and how do you fit into a much bigger puzzle and all that stuff that you just have to know before you even fucking put the keys in the jet.
Yeah.
But as far as the fighter pilot mindset, going back to you guys' podcast, that mentality comes out in everything.
Yeah.
And non-fighter pilots that are in your circle notice something about you that either they like or they don't.
Yeah, that's very true.
Why do you drive that way?
It's a tough pill to swallow for...
Well, why do you go scorched earth when you go into confrontational conversation? I just do.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to go for you and I'm going to find your weakness. I'm going to take you to the ground. I'm going to choke you. And that's just how I do it. And then you got 4 sets of eyeballs of people who aren't fighter pilots just looking at you going. Huh.
Well, one of the lessons that you learn early on in a fighter squadron, I think, is don't let people know that something bothers you.
Yeah.
Because they're like my civilian friends. If you let me know that something bothers you, I'm picking that scab, buddy.
So we talked about my beginning in the Air Force. I spent 3 years at Tinker as an ABM, right?
And you still didn't know what the fuck a redeck range was when I got to Luke?
That went down to the instruction that you gave about it, which was all I'm asking.
It's valid.
Moved to Tinker, lived with 6 other second lieutenants, all of us in the house. None of them Zoomies. There was one from ASU, one from Auburn, Texas A&M, Buffalo State, all this stuff. And these guys, Cass, you've known me for a long time. You can tell from about a quarter mile away when something's bothering me. Oh, yeah. There's no hiding it.
No, there's no.
Right? It's like, wow.
Yeah. It's easy to know what's going on.
Let's see how this goes.
Fucking bust through the wall like the Kool-Aid man.
I'll give you $5 to figure out what's wrong with those kids.
Go see this to Francis.
So same with these dudes, man. We would deploy for 6 months at a time. Any of us, and AWACS is everywhere. And I may have been slightly OCD in the way I organized my life, my clothes, the shit in my room.
Yeah.
And I would come home to a room that wasn't totally destroyed, but worse.
Oh, they fucked up your sock
drawer.
drawer.
They would just move it by like 6 inches. Or the top drawer should be the socks. The middle drawer was the underwear. The bottom drawer was T-shirts. We're going to switch the drawers around and ruin my life. And they were awesome. I wish they were here because they'd all be laughing.
I can see like a montage of Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie Commando painting Francis in the bathroom strapping on bandoliers of grenades like I'm fixing a place.
You're all gonna die.
But it's funny, they picked me up from the airport and the first night we did a naming. And
Oh,
we
yeah.
weren't even fighter pilots yet, but everybody's dad was, so it was kind of inbred that way. But my stuff comes from TMO about three weeks later, and they'd gotten that time to get to know me. And as I'm unpacking the boxes, was the stuff from the academy, which in your drawers, the top underwear is safety pinned to a piece of cardboard that is exactly the dimensions that it's supposed to be
For
and
inspection.
They just went to town. At that point, they had my share of the security deposit. They had everything they needed to lock me down into this lease, and they just kneecapped me for it. But you learn a lot about yourself, right? And that kind of rolls into what we were talking about before. But you wrote a book,
Allegedly.
How Not to Suck, right?
Yeah.
And some of that stuff dealt with just that personality that we're talking about, right? And how it helps you have the perspective to win in everything.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're making excuses for why not. And what that book is, at least to your children and you, is an example. What you and Bodie were, an example. Because those little turds are watching everything you do, from the way you wear your patches to how many folds you roll your sleeves up, or if you don't, to everything.
Yeah, that's very true.
And that's the problem now. There's no example of a warfighter.
Yeah.
It's people worried about the booby mugs and the books and who's offended and who's not. There's no example.
Yeah.
Of not just teaching me how to fly, dude. That's easy. The rest of it, how do I conduct myself? How do I take responsibility for what happened today? How do I take responsibility for my wingman's mistakes because I set him up poorly?
Yeah.
That is lessons that, I don't know, I don't think they learn nowadays because maybe a little different mentality.
Society's changing. Yep. Times, you have to kind of ebb and flow with that a little bit. And I think as leaders, we have to be responsive. We have to be responsive to that a little. We can't use the same tactics that we did. And your kids are a prime example. As they get older, when my kids hit about 14 or 15 years old, I realized that this shit didn't work anymore. Shaky fingers, do it because I told you so. Tactics didn't work anymore. So I shifted my leadership of the family a little bit to more of a lead by example. I want them to walk in and see me holding mom's hand. I want them to walk in and see me reading a book or doing something productive. Or when I go out and I handle myself in social settings, there's a certain way to do that. And my kids need to see that, not just because you shake his hand because I told you so. No, they need to see me doing that.
Yeah. Well, I was the way I was because I don't know if you saw this, Francis. I'd be interested to get your take on this. But one thing that I recognized in my last assignment at Luke was, and I hate to generalize because it wasn't all the students, but there were, it almost felt like sometimes we had to spend more time molding that mentality than we did in the past.
Right.
And I don't know if that was a function of,
dude, it's worse now.
I don't know.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. I don't know if that was a function of, because they weren't getting, because I remember being in pilot training and tweets at Shepherd. And we're in like the basic formation phase. And I've got one of the German students that was in my class, a guy by the name of Nicholas Nanasi. We called him Nanasty.
The Nazi?
Nanasi.
Sorry, that's twice.
The nasty. But
there should be a whiteboard in here.
He's flying over there with
be careful with the white jokes.
Right? He's over there flying with a German IP. And we're doing like the 90-degree whatever turns or whatever. And we're like at the top. And I look over to see how he's doing formation wise, and all I see is his IP's got him by the fucking oxygen mask and is smacking him across the back of the helmet, and I'm like going, ooh, I don't think that ride's going so well for the next.
I see an X ride in his future.
So, pilot training was, I think, that experience for us, and like Korea for me for sure. I don't know what they do in Korea anymore, but I'm sure the exposure that I got in Korea is probably much different than what they get now. Because it was even different for me than what it was back in the 70s. Because I'll never forget the vice wing commander. We were at the club one night at Kunsan, and it's Friday night at the Kun. I'll be inebriated soon. It's Friday and I'm drunk, and so we're sitting there drinking, and we bought him a drink and we sat down. He was an old F4 guy. He had been a Juvat as a punk.
Yeah.
And he was the vice wing commander now, and we start talking to him. He was telling us stories about when he was a punk, taking over command post. Like they fucking went in there one night.
Yeah, you
and,
told that.
Yeah,
That's
took
good.
over command post. You know, it like tied the A1Cs duct taped into their chairs and called security forces and says, "We own command post." You know, and they got in trouble for they got grounded for like a week or something. You know,
perfect.
You could never do that.
Now
shit
you're
anymore.
booted out. And,
you'd be
strung up the pole.
Leavenworth.
I got 2 LOCs in my entire career, and they were both from shenanigans like that.
Yeah,
they were well earned. I wore them with pride.
Right on.
Yeah.
So
what you were seeing, though, I think, is probably a reflection of society in a way, because also something that happened during that time frame is parents stopped whipping their fucking kids.
Yeah.
And now you get this kindler, gentler, everybody gets a trophy kind of mentality throughout society. And then the guys show up to a fighter squadron with thin skin, and it just doesn't fucking work the same.
Work.
You know, and as leaders, we have to change our tactics a little bit, or else you're not going to have any fucking wingmen.
Yeah. I think the changing of tactics was probably one of my weak points. Is I'm still beating on that thing with a sledgehammer. Just boom, you will do it this way. And I don't know if I agree with what Roscoe's saying. I don't know if that's not the first chink in the armor to allow the standard bar to start.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Is you can't let it drift.
I'll agree with that piece of it, but the way you approach that can be a little bit different.
Yeah,
true. You know, you can't just walk in, kick the door open, and call everybody motherfuckers. Maybe you have to have a conversation.
You can.
I agree with you. I taught a lecture today to some TX guys who are, they've been around the Air Force for 5-6 years or something, different airframes, and even with them, I can tell.
Yeah,
it's just a different mentality out there. Mm-hmm. I found out today that there are no more Friday shirts in the Air Force.
Yeah,
no more Friday shirts. This is a new thing. They can still wear their Friday patches, but they can't wear Friday shirts.
They don't have Friday squadron shirts, huh?
Nope. Interesting. This is a new development, and I'm fairly certain that it's pretty recent, because I probably would have noticed. But yeah,
I think you and I's first interaction was a good example of what wouldn't happen today. When you and I bumped heads in the spikes.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that was a very poignant moment in my life. I mean, I've never been so wrong, but kept pulling for so long, being so wrong, and going, I'm going to win this thing, and everybody else standing 10 feet away going, wow.
Yeah.
You guys need to get a room. You're a mess. And,
that's determination, man.
It was.
For the listeners, Francis and I didn't get off on a good foot right away.
That kind of mentality is what got Sir Hillary Edmond up to Everest. I'm just saying,
Well, it wasn't CAS's fault that he was wrong.
Was it Hillary Edmond or Edmond Hillary? I don't remember. Whatever. Sorry, two conversations at the same time.
Yeah.
I've heard this story. Please tell it.
So I'm leading the air-to-air portion of a large force exercise for the B coursers. And while I was out of town, we switched to a different game plan, which CAS, as the new weapons officer, briefed ad nauseum with about 100,000 different slides and exactly how to do it.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to do it. So I walk out and I'd go old school on this thing, and it just turned into a mess. And CAS, I did not know, as our patch was over at ACMI watching the whole war go down and listening to Fight Prime, which is what I was talking about.
He's got
all the calm.
CAS has a people to kill list, and it says Francis.
It's like Deadpool in the first movie going, it's Christmas, motherfucker.
That's right. So you blatantly disregarded everything I told you to do. And I was like, yep. And then you see people moving chairs, trying to making a room for us to just go at it right there. It was a mess. And somewhere in there, I blacked out. So I'm in the squadron, about to go look at my tapes, and CAS just walks in and he's like, what was that, dude? I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And kept going round and round about it. I don't know what it looked like from your side, but from my side, I was winning the whole argument.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of good data points in your column.
Yeah.
Obstinance.
Yeah.
Things were going poorly. Got my ass handed to me. CAS rolled in on me. Yeah, it's all winning come.
Standard Tuesday.
It took a few months to get you on board.
Yeah, well, years. But who's counting?
Yeah. But it all came to fruition at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all guilty of that at some point, whether it's our relationships that we have, or, with our kids, it's a great example. Spouses, work, whatever it is, we're all guilty of being a little bit pigheaded sometimes.
Yeah.
And I say it all the time, man. I'll say it again. Humility is a superpower.
Yeah.
And once you kind of open that door, dude, I don't know. Life just gets easier when you're able to raise your hand and say, yeah, fuck that.
Yeah.
But why does it take to be 45 and 50 to get there?
That's the question. Yeah,
that's could have been there 30 years ago. Things would have been a lot
same.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all got. I've got a history littered with that shit.
That's why we're talking about all this stuff now.
Yeah.
Trying to help
out my kids.
Same mistakes.
This is free. We should be charging.
Trying to help my kids not to make the same goddamn mistakes. But I mean, they're determined to do shit the hard way sometimes. And we were just talking about this yesterday when I was over here about how, man, sometimes you just got to let them fail and fail hard. And you pick them up and dust them off and kick them back out.
Yep.
My problem is I can't remember the me that was at that age when they're doing this shit. I can't remember that mindset because it's been so overshadowed with 52 years of wisdom and mistakes and messing it up and learning from it that I cannot look at those early mistakes that some of our children are making and go, I can't get in the frame of mind to where that's okay. I'm like, well, why would you do that? That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. You could do this, right? It's that simple, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not.
Because they don't have the beat down that requires you to get.
Yeah, they don't have the experience or the failures yet.
Well, also your kids are always going to look at you like you're a fucking dumbass.
Well, that's just it.
I mean, they're going to look at you. What the fuck do you know, man?
Well, the problem is, in my case, I really am.
Yeah.
Well, so, I mean, pick something and be good at it. But,
overachiever.
But yeah, I mean, life is such a better teacher than we ever will be to our kids, even though we've said the same damn things, man, until they experience it on their own and they call you up and they have this epiphany and be like, hey, Dad, you'll never imagine what happened to me. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fucking, there's my shock face.
Yeah.
I told you this shit was going to happen.
Yeah. Nowadays, I'm blessed with a wife who, when I do that, I'm filling the lungs and here comes the finger and, I'm going to.
She's reaching for the holster at the same time.
Just feel this hand on my back. She's like, let this happen.
Yeah. That's good.
Let it go for a second and let the inertia build, and I'm like,
dude, it's hard to make that pivot.
Yeah.
Because I struggled with that with my oldest in particular at times. And, but you just have to at some point just go, you almost have to shift your mindset to just from, instead of telling them what to do, trying to help them figure it out on their own.
Right.
And that's excruciating sometimes. I mean, it really is, because like we've talked about, you can see the impending train crash. Or you're asking the right questions and you think they're getting there, and then they do a fucking 90 left, and you're just like, oh,
dude. I walked into the living room. A couple days ago, and Katie had just started this movie. Within 5 minutes, I had the entire plot written out.
Right.
Like, you can see this shit coming a mile away, and raising my kids is no different, dude.
Right.
I see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's a train wreck in slow motion, and I've got the fucking popcorn, bro.
Yeah.
And Caleb is a really good example. Caleb's my youngest, and he's in ROTC right now, and dude wants to be a fighter pilot. I'm like, cool, man. Here's the answers to the fucking test, and he won't use it.
Well, that's what I was going to say to you. Is it's not just watching the impending train wreck. It's I have the answer.
Yeah,
seriously,
we can prevent this.
Here's the answers to
not
the
only
test.
I can prevent this, but when I did this 20 years ago, it hurt so bad, and it cost me so much.
Yeah,
and not only can I give you the answer, but the answer will save you pain.
Yeah,
and you still can't give it to me.
It sucks, man.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna do it my way.
Yeah, we need more super drink offs. That would
super drink off would solve
with your kids.
We probably had that. We might have resolved a few of ours with super drink offs.
Yep.
Super drink offs with my kids. I don't know, man.
Not with our kids, obviously.
Interesting. Yeah.
So for those that don't know, super drink offs, we'd get together on the bar on Fridays.
Conflict resolution.
It is conflict resolution in a fighter squadron. And, we tell stories. So people are allowed to get up and tell stories about things that they've seen through the course of the week, which usually are things that have been erroneous of gross nature.
10% truth.
10% truth.
10% rule still applies. And every once in a while, the person that's telling the story, the other person will start to quibble or start to lash out and say things back, and the crowd will respond. And oftentimes it responds in a super drink off.
Super drink off.
Which is where both get to charge their glass, and whoever finished first wins.
Regardless of their righteousness.
Yes. Although I don't know if you were there. I remember. So I'm the patch and the spikes. And
Wait,
Do you remember? I don't know if you were there. Patching the spikes. One of the bee coursers decides to grow a pair and try to call me out.
Love that though.
Love it.
Keep going. Run into
That's
that brick
ballsy.
wall, brother.
Yeah.
Let me wipe that off for you.
Yeah, I loved it. And the story wasn't even good, right? Because
actually, I do remember.
Yeah,
you gotta admire that.
I did. I mean, it was actually I was
valiant effort. Now sit the fuck down.
I was very proud of him, and I believe I told him that after the fact. But you know,
this is gonna hurt.
I'm just
really
staring,
bad.
I'm staring daggers at this kid, and his knees are shaking as he's trying to tell his story.
But I'm committed at this point.
I'm like, let's do this, right? And of course, everybody thinks it's great, and it erupts into the super drink off. So we go over, we charge our mugs, and we had big mugs in the spikes, man. I mean, there's a lot of adult beverage in
commitment.
There. Yeah, and we get the countdown. We start, and he starts chugging, and I'm just staring at him, and I can see the confusion on his face, like. Fuck, is Cass one of those guys that can like just open his throat
to Jedi mind trick?
You know? Yeah, he is.
You know? And you know, I could just see the confusion over his face, and I let him get to where he's about halfway done, and I just took my mug and I just poured my whole beer on him and walked away.
Sometimes when you win, you lose.
Yes,
yeah,
feels good.
So you thought you would, son, but let me teach you a little story.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
That's good.
I do remember that.
Do you remember that?
Yep.
Oh, God. You should have heard the crowd, man. It was glorious.
What's weird, though, is how you remember those moments, but nothing else. You know?
Yeah.
Like the day Buster came in and told us that Trojan had died. I remember that one, right?
Yeah, I do too.
I won't remember this by the time I get home, but I will remember that moment forever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow, I just took that down. Yeah. Put a bullet in it.
Way to bring the whole fucking podcast down. Should just hit stop and
start over.
Jesus.
Redo.
No, you're right though, man. I mean, like, what sucks for me, man, is I have these little vignettes of these little stories and these little visions of memories and shit. But I have a gap there. I was just telling one of my kids this the other day. I have a gap of about maybe 3 years where I don't remember anything about them.
Yeah.
It was all flight school, fucking B course, and then first assignment, getting ready to deploy and all that shit. And seriously, man, there's like a 3-year blank space where I don't remember going to my kids' birthday parties. I remember the pictures that my wife took, and I was probably there, but I mean, it's just so sad that we get so wrapped up in this shit sometimes. And then I was telling when I went up to talk to the Embry-Riddle guys, I said, guys, look, here's my number one piece of advice from an old guy, right? Is fucking enjoy the ride. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Because at the end of the day, we all end up here.
Yep.
You know, we got cool shit on the walls. We got a bunch of cool stories, but we're all just old fucking retired guys that nobody gives a fuck about.
Yeah.
So just enjoy the ride, man.
Yeah, for sure.
I do think it's a processor capability factor, right? I mean, during those times that you mentioned, it's a bookshelf, man, and you can't make your bookshelf bigger. So learn how to fly the airplane, pass the ride, weapons, tactics, all this stuff. And oh, by the way, you have a whole nother life going on. It's not possible.
Yeah, it's hard.
10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag, right? And unfortunately, those are the things that drop out. But like you, it's incredible the size of that blind spot. And you tend to feel bad about it. When your kids are like, do you remember the day I was born? I was like, honestly, I couldn't.
Katie starts telling stories about, hey, you remember that one time that Nikki just walked off into the ocean and didn't stop? I'm like, no, actually I don't, but I can tell you what sortie I flew that day.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know?
And what's your name again? Yeah. She's like, okay, that's not cool.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Don't tell her that.
Oh.
So I want to go back to the mentality thing because we talk about fighter pilot mentality all the time on here. And can it be taught?
I think so. I think portions of it can. I think there are certain ones of us who are more confident than others naturally. I think that there are some things, you can put guys in pressure situations and forge some of that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, man, you're either going to eat the guy or you're not. And we've all known guys on both sides of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a bell curve, and on the flat, pointy ends of the bell curve, I've known guys who have gotten kicked out of communities and sent to fly in the backseat of heavies or not fly at all because they just didn't have that. You know, you just don't have it. Whatever it is, you just didn't have it, man.
So what is it? What do you guys think it is?
Well, to answer your question, I think it can be taught. However, the environment is paramount.
Yeah.
And in this environment, there are no rules. In this environment, you as an IP, squadron commander, a DO, are given the keys to the city to run it how you choose to run it without question. And I don't think that exists anymore.
Yeah.
The environment of, dude, I'm going to take you down. Why? Because it's Tuesday. And we're going to go do that. Just like you did in WIC. I'm sure you had a WIC IP go.
Yeah.
You just flew the greatest high aspect ride you've ever flown.
Yeah.
All of it. Briefed it, debriefed it, saw his shenanigans, wrote them down, and got lessons learned from them. You're going down. Why? Because we have an opening of 2 jets tomorrow.
That's right.
And we're going to go and do it again.
I can tell you that story right now.
Yeah. And just that level of disbelief, that is the environment I'm talking about, where your qualifications speak the loudest, and you don't really, you're not beholden to any opinion in this environment sphere where you're going to create that thought, the it. You cannot create the it if you're in an environment where you, the leader, are looking over your shoulder all the time.
Yeah.
Where people are questioning you.
I get I have a lot of older dudes that'll come over to the Sims and we'll just be sitting there rapping a little bit and they'll say something. This has happened a couple of times in just the last few months. They'll say stuff like, man, we don't have young kids with that killer instinct anymore. And it's funny because you can't teach instinct, but I mean, to a degree, maybe you can, but so where does that come from?
Ooh. The womb.
Yeah, well, I think some of it's internal to people, right? I mean, there's a reason that we're all type A's for the most part. I mean, and like you're right, Roscoe, there's guys in squadron that are average, and they're average for a reason, or slightly below average and slightly below average for a reason. And most of the time it's not a cognitive issue, it's a drive issue.
Yeah.
I think, but it goes back to some of the stuff that we talk about our podcast, because I think you can learn it, but it's not easy. And environment does play a big key in that. But aside from environment, I think what you have to do is you have to get competitive with yourself, right? I mean, that's really where it lies. Mm-hmm. You get better in a fighter community because you decide to push yourself. You get better because you decide to, instead of fucking playing foosball and grab ass in the squadron bar, go sit in the vault for an hour and try to figure some of this shit out, or talk to guys, ask questions, sit in other people's debriefs and see if you can figure out what the lessons learned are, or take the lessons learned away from that so that you can start to build your tool bag for how you're not going to fuck that up just like your bro just did on his last sortie. Take those, as opposed to what we've been talking about with our kids where they don't listen. You've got to open up your fucking ears and you've got to listen and hear what other people are doing and then apply that to yourself so that okay, well, if I'm in that situation on that type of sortie, I am not going to do that.
Yep.
Right. And you have to start to build this habit pattern and this mentality of just striving every day. It's peak performance, right? It's striving every day to bring the best possible stuff that you can bring to every sortie, to every brief, to every debrief, and staying engaged. And it's hard sometimes because you're tired and it's
without
not
fear
easy.
Of failure though.
Well,
that's where I got good at being a fighter pilot, was when I gave up on worrying about failure.
You don't, because you're going to fuck it up. Right? Yeah. We all fail. We all screw it away. But that's also when we get our best lessons learned.
Yeah.
Like you learn I used to tell guys this all the time when I'd bust them. I go, dude, if we went out there today and handed everybody their ass, awesome. You validated the game plan. You validated the tactic.
Learn jack shit.
I already know the tactic works.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to execute it. Like this is a great learning opportunity right now because you're learning where you made the mistakes and how not to make those mistakes in similar situations.
What you're talking about though is the other side to that coin that you were just talking about the competition with yourself and all that stuff, which is all valid and great and everything. And I believe that extends even to competition with other bros. And the guy in the lieutenant in the roll call standing up to the squadron patch and going, "Come on, motherfucker!" Hey, that's bravado. That's cool. We need some of that, right? But the other side of that coin though is accountability, right? And you got to have motherfuckers that'll hold each other accountable. And I mean, we saw it in the fighter squadron all the time.
Yes.
We in the documentary,
and we don't have to sugarcoat everything.
No, in the documentary Man in the Arena with Tom Brady, he talked about an entire season where that was their thing. They called themselves the Edgers, and they were just trying to edge each other out, and that's competition, and that's holding each other accountable. Oh, motherfucker, healthy, you're staying 5 minutes after practice. I'm going to stay 7 minutes after practice. Fuck you. You know, so, but that's those two feed off of each other.
Yep, they sure do.
And you take that back to that environment where you're a patch, but you can go out and screw it up, man.
Oh, fuck
you can, and you do more often than not. But from a B course perspective, they don't see that.
Yeah.
And I found that out. Remember Pepe? What was Pepe's name?
I know who you're talking about, Orlando.
So I'm on a mission check, and I'm one on a 4VX DCA, and he's red one. And we go out and we get housed. Everybody's dead. I'm dead. 3's out there raging by. It's an easy debrief. It was amazing. So to your point, the debrief was a lot. And the debrief, I'm standing up there going, and then we're getting back to root causes, and the root cause is me. And you have 2 and 4 who are worried about busting the ride.
Right.
And have no idea that I could be that fallible. And they're like, I busted this ride. And that's all they can see until we get up and they're, why did that happen? Yep. Why? And the third arrow of that why is one did not execute the game plan on the timeline.
Yeah.
And they walk out of there going, this is awesome. I didn't bust, but I think Francis just busted his mission. And Pepe wants to give me an EQ. He's like, dude, your execution was the worst I've ever seen. But he goes, but your debrief was the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And you talk about a lesson learned for those
for
kids,
those
young kids,
but it exists in the vacuum of that environment.
Yeah.
Where Pepe's ultimate discretion to do whatever he thinks he should do with me, while I do whatever I think I should do with them, without fear of leadership judgment or someone injecting and going, no, that doesn't meet blah, blah, blah. No.
Yeah.
To me, that's kind of what you were asking about, right? It's just, God, that environment to fail epically and still get something solid out of it.
Yeah, and then dust yourself off and do it again.
Yeah, go, wow, I hate myself. Tomorrow, here we go.
Yeah, exactly. You got to get back on the horse.
Gloves are on the ice, and here we go. But yeah,
there's all kinds of good lessons to take away from that, though. But you know what? When you stand up and you go, hack, let's start the debrief. Dude, what's done is done.
Yeah.
And you can't do anything out of it. You can't do anything about the execution at that piece. Yeah. So now your job shifts from being that flight leader and that, calling the shots airborne to, hey man, maybe we can still salvage something out of this.
Yeah, let's get something out.
Because I mean, whether I bust or get an EQ, that's out of my hands right now. The only thing I can do is do a really good debrief, make sure that these two chuckleheads get some learning out of it, because that's my responsibility at this point, right? I mean, and I can't worry about what Pepe is going to do or what the grade sheet for me is going to say, because it's not about me, it's about them. That again goes right back to that humility piece, right? You kind of have to put your shields down a little bit, and just accept the situation for what it is.
But then indirectly, what are the pillars? Humility, approachability. What are
humble,
they?
Approachable, credible.
Yeah. You meet all three of those in a finite moment when you stand up and go, dude, I suck.
Yeah.
And here are the reasons I suck. I'm not just saying I suck because I want you guys to. Here it is.
Yeah.
This is how I did it.
Yeah. Except for the credibility piece. You never really had that, Francis.
No, but I could buy it at any minute.
Francis just got
I would like to drink with a case of beer in the bar. Yeah. They're headed out Jack Daniels in the parking lot.
Awesome. There you go. You brought it to a complete fucking standstill again.
Yeah, I like the.
Yeah, you're awkward, dude.
I love it.
Yeah. It's a good thing. It's a good thing that we're sitting so close to each other so we can make that uncomfortable eye contact and just make it really weird.
Well, the thing that I'm learning today is none of the listeners really know that we actually sit here and hold hands the whole time.
No, that's not my
Which
hand.
is a little weird.
That's not my hand, bro.
The milk's gone bad.
It's not. There's a reason the table is covered with a blanket. So
Yeah.
what happens under the table stays under the table. Just don't. You close your eyes, man. Just go with it. Just go with it.
I think you're right, though, Roscoe. I think the accountability piece is the other big piece of that, right? Because if you don't have guys that are willing to hold each other accountable, and I think that's one of the things that's so unique about either a fighter squadron or special operations, those tight-knit groups where, the level of performance is expected to be high on a daily basis, and you're held to that. Like
there has to be a line of what's tolerated and what's not.
Yeah.
And there's that old famous saying that says, you get what you tolerate, right? And dude, when we go downtown, I need somebody that's going to pull me out of the fucking foxhole.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have my back. And I have to know that, not guess, not suppose, but I have to know that when we go downtown, dude, like we are a fucking team. And some of those guys, some of those passive, even the passive guys who you would look at in a bar, who's maybe sitting in the back and drinking water instead of Jack and Coke or whatever. And you go, oh man, he's kind of not a killer. Like he just doesn't walk through the squadron and act like he wants to fucking, kill everything he touches. He can still be a good number 4.
Mm-hmm.
He can still be a good wingman.
Yep.
So what is it about that mentality though? That, cause I knew guys, I mean, gosh, man, one of my best friends in the squadron was a straight devout Mormon, didn't drink, didn't cuss. And we dropped a lot of bombs in hate.
Yep.
He was a good wingman. So where I don't know what that line is, and what we're talking about with the fighter pilot mindset is I think there's so many fucking things that go into that.
Yeah, there was a lot of
we've drawn a circle, Francis, and we've written fighter pilot mindset in there, and we just start writing stuff around the periphery of what makes that up, and drive, motivation, perseverance, attitude,
resilience,
cockiness, there's so many freaking things that go into there. And how do you take a kid off the streets or how do you take a poli-sci major out of a rando college, throw him through 12 weeks of OTS and then turn him into a cold-blooded killer?
Yeah.
How do you do that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, like you said before, it starts with the person, right? Have you ever read the book Lone Survivor?
Yeah.
Okay, so that guy walking through the door, he's in Texas, right? And he's a young kid and he's got fire and piss and he's ready to go get the world. That kind of person started to be a Navy SEAL 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. And his whole mindset, just the way he's wired for whatever reason, is generated towards excellence and not towards self-doubt. Yeah. And some people just aren't wired that way. Some people walk the earth doubting everything they do or what they look like. Or
those are the guys that aren't going to last long in a community like this.
No, that's just
they're not.
They're in the first month.
Yeah. The performance level required is just too high for that. But when we were sitting here with Dr. John talking to him about it, some of the guys who walk around, all of the guys who walk around like that are just, they're probably not going to make it. But one of my questions to him was, how do you take a guy who's just like, things came easy to him and, he did well in UPT. I mean, no fault of his own. He did well enough to be above the line. And they said, hey man, go fly F-35s. Oh, cool. I guess I'll go, I don't know, fly F-35s. Didn't have like that lifelong dream or that nagging passion or anything like that.
Just came easy.
Yeah. It's just like, oh man, I mean, somebody told me to go to Luke, so I guess I'm going to go to Luke. Like, what do you do with a kid like that?
Yeah. Well, what did Doc John say?
I honestly don't remember.
You don't remember?
No. Dude, come on. I'm short attention span theater here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but there's a reason that they still excel, right? And you've got to find whatever that is and tap into it. So, maybe you enjoy the competition. And so that's why you did well in pilot training. So find that competition in the B course, find that top competition when you get to your next squadron. Whatever that is for you, you've got to tap into.
He likes watching guys get dressed before a sortie. Just whatever turns you on,
whatever
baby.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. I used to what I always try to teach guys was tempered aggression, right? So, and I think that's the key is, and it's translatable to life as well. Like you have to be aggressive. Like we talk about this all the time. You don't create opportunity by sitting in the same fucking seat over and over and over and not taking advantage or stepping out of your comfort zone, right? And you get pushed outside of your comfort zone on a fucking daily basis in a fighter squadron. Yeah. Whether and it's on the officership side too, right? You're fat, dumb, and happy lieutenant, and you've been snacko for 2 months and you think you're doing a great job because there's Jack and Coke and popcorn every day. And then next thing you know, the DO comes over and goes, hey, you're the pro Joe for this.
Yep. Welcome.
And you're like, I don't even know what fucking pro Joe means, and now you've got to go figure it the fuck out. Right. And there's nobody to hold your hand. There's nobody to, you can ask questions and guys will help you, but you got to figure some shit out, you know? And so,
well, but yeah, I mean, that comes in the forms of asking questions,
Yeah.
and guys are going to help you.
but there's
Get out your continuity binder.
but there's a
Yeah.
there's a level of aggressiveness that you have to have, you know, and by aggressiveness, I don't mean pound your chest. I'm the greatest, you know, I'm not talking about bravado and ego. It's aggressiveness. It's how am I going to attack this problem and
Yeah.
win, right? Like, how am I going to, that's how you have to go after, but it has to be tempered, right? Because you can't ball walk all the time. You know, that's what I used to tell flight leads or IPs when they were going through upgrades. It's like, dude, yeah, you got to be aggressive, but you've got to pick the right times. Like on the first leaf isn't the time to make the audible to bonsai when we need to be out a door. You know what I mean? Like there's a flow to this.
But as far as teaching that, how many children have you taught to drive?
4.
3.
Okay. So I'm teaching my kids to drive, right? And at an intersection, 4 ways, 4 different cars staring at each other.
Yeah, love it.
Go.
And I just go. And I have my oldest, you know, and she's at her time got her permit. She's like, well, what makes you get to go and not the other 3?
Decisiveness.
Yeah. Because I'm going to go and I'm going to force the issue on them.
Yep.
And she's like, huh, okay. Same daughter. I'm driving her to Nashville from Phoenix. She doesn't
even stop. She just,
whatever.
I forced the issue,
You know, same thing. When do you know when to pull out into the left lane from the right when this is, and I'm like, I forced the issue.
Yeah.
So we're going 85 hauling and she pulls right out in between 2 tractor trailers. And we're about 3 feet from the front of that one. And the one behind us is jamming on its brakes. And she's like, I was like, what is that? She goes, you said to force the issue. I'm like, okay, but it's tempered.
Yeah,
because these 2 trucks will kill me.
Yeah.
Right. And that lesson is like, yep, here's the lesson, but here's the molar suck of what is it going to cost you if you screw it up?
Yeah. It depends.
That reminds me. That reminds me. When I texted you on the way over here and said, shit's fucked, I'll be here in a minute.
Yeah.
I was coming up Litchfield, right from the base, turn out of the base, and I made both the lights there at Northern, which I never do. I always get caught by that light, but I'm like, oh yeah, man, I'm going to make it CAS's on time. This is going great. And I'm in my little hoopty out here and I get up through Olive and I start to see a bunch of brake lights and fucking thick black smoke in front of me. Like, what the hell? Got up past the railroad tracks there on Litchfield, and something, I don't know what it was, but something is in the middle of the Litchfield Peoria intersection with blazing, like flames coming up as they were touching the red light.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And everybody in front of me is just doing U's going back the other way. I don't know what it was. I didn't get close enough. But it just kind of cascaded from there. I got stuck behind a semi truck, and then that guy didn't want to turn, and so that's when I was getting frustrated. That's when I showed up here a little. That and fucking Jack Nuts over here parking my spot, and
it's a good spot.
It is. I know it's JD and everything.
If you were on time, you'd probably have it.
Yeah, and I think environment plays a big part too. Just to go to what you were saying, Francis. But you know, I don't think that. I mean, because we've all been in squadrons where even before maybe some of those things were taken away, you just had a douchebag for a commander, you know, or just some dude that was, you know, an ass kiss.
It only takes one guy to bring it down.
You've got guys that are good managers, and you got guys that are good fighter pilots, and every once in a while you get a guy that's both.
Yep.
You know, but sometimes neither the two will meet. And I know I had managers in my time in the Air Force that were in leadership, and it's hard on the squadron.
Yep.
And but you find those, but there was always little bubbles here and there, you know, whether it was the weapons officer or a couple of certain IPs, or even just the punks, you know, if you had a bunch of
the right balance.
Yeah, that just would push each other. I always found every squadron. And then when I got a little older, I tried to create that in those situations, right? Try to make it as good as I could for the guys around me, to do what I could for the guys around me in lieu of
the shit show.
Yeah.
As you carry your screen around. And
did you notice body language tells a lot right there? When he said shit show, he did that.
He pointed at me and
right at you. Yeah. I pick up on these little things.
No, Roscoe, I didn't notice.
When
thanks for pointing it out.
He was asking before you came in here, you were dropping a deuce or something, and he was talking about us sitting here and doing this face to face. And I said, yeah, man, face to face is always better because we can read the body language. Yeah. I can really tell when CAS has something to say or when he goes shit show like this. And yeah.
Or CAS's code word to tell me to shut my face.
You're done here. You're getting a parking Roscoe spot.
Yeah. There's rules.
You're you're cut off.
Yep.
Great. Awesome. What else?
I don't know. What else you guys got?
Tell us something funny, Francis. You're a funny guy. Cass said so.
Am I?
Yeah, you got a good story, man?
Stories.
That you can remember from back in the day?
A lot of them that I can't say.
Yeah, I know. We run into that problem a lot.
I mean,
There's been a few that we've had to temper here and there, at least kind of dull the edges some.
Yeah.
Try not to name drop.
that's the hard part of it, because the funny comes into the person that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever did you ever have to take a shit in the cockpit?
I have.
Wait. That was a bad question. Have you ever taken a shit in the cockpit?
I have.
Okay. Tell the story.
Learned from Duke Boy Win all
Oh,
the things required to do it.
Safe the seat.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Or not.
Yeah.
Keep it interesting. I like it. Okay.
You won't ever use the helmet bag again.
Yeah. Right on. World's smallest cockpit. Yeah.
Run the seat all the way up. Let it go. What do you do with your G suit? You don't jam it down by the ejection seat handles.
Yeah.
You ball it up and put it up here.
Yeah.
What else? I don't remember where I was. I think we were on our way to, actually, I know we were on our way to Hawaii, which is its own set of awesome stories. Metal Henkelman.
Oh, I know Metal.
Oh, yeah. So he's probably never going to listen to this, but dang. Dump truck?
I don't know dump truck.
Okay.
Metal was the patch in the Tuies when I was a GVAT.
Ooh, okay.
So.
See, I don't know about that because I was in the fighter squadron on the Rock.
Oh.
And then the gloves came off.
I think he just did this.
Yeah. Land of the big BX.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
All right. I know a crew that declared a fizzy and came back to Bagram off of a combat sortie because the Wizzo took a shit in the back seat. He took a shit in his helmet bag in the back seat.
Yeah.
And the pilot said it stunk so bad in the cockpit, even with all the airflow and everything, that they declared an emergency and came back from a.
Did I ever tell the chop story?
Gotta say that.
I don't think I ever told the chop story.
I don't remember.
So I'm at Kunsan. We got a great dude that shows up. Ends up being a patch. Awesome guy. But it's like he's just out of MQT, mission qualification training, and this was like his first or second sortie, and he's doing a hot pit BFM ride. And he had never gone through the hot pits before. And so for the listeners, hot pits, you go out, you fly sortie, you land, and then you basically park in a HAZ, and while the engine's running, they refuel the airplane, they do all their pre-flight checks, and you take off and fly another sortie. So typically we'll piss in the hot pits, right? Well, it's like fucking November at Kunsan. He's out MOA 15 out over the water. So he's in a poopy suit for the first time in his life, which is the anti-exposure suit, so you can suffer for 15 more minutes before you die.
It's not a suit that you take a shit in. Like my wife thought, she just found out like 2 months ago that the poopy suit was not something you take a shit in.
Yeah. So you like when you put a poopy suit on, there's like a liner that you put on, and then it's like this
vacuum
sealed like rubber shit that you put on, and then you put your flight suit on over that. And so you're like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man walking out to the fucking jet.
You have to bend down and burp it. Remember that?
So anyways,
I mean, you'll drown. You just won't die of exposure.
That's right. Yeah. You'll still die. It'll just take
delays the inevitable.
So this particular individual is in the hot pits for the first time, and he's got to pee. And so not a lot of piddle pack expertise going on, and he's got a poopy suit on. So across the front of your crotch on a poopy suit is what we call the jaws of death, which is this huge fucking
zipper like 1 inch wide.
Yeah, and it's like got huge teeth on it too, right? So
you ever see something about Mary?
Yeah. Well, hold on. Okay. So he gets the jaws of death opened up.
I don't think I like where this is going.
He finds his liner zipper. He zips his liner up, and because it's like a flight suit, it's got the zipper that goes all the way down, and gets his junk out, successfully pisses in a piddle pack, starts to put himself back together. He can't find the zipper for his liner, so he just goes, fuck it. He closes the jaws of death, gets strapped up, blast off.
Okay.
First set, 9K offensive for number 2. So he's on offense, fights on. Cranks it into afterburner, rolls out, drives to the turn circle entry, rolls it up, pulls 9Gs, knock it off. 2 say problem. Stand by.
I'm just going to fly out of the airspace.
2, what's going on? Stand by. 2, what's going on? I've got a physiological emergency. Okay. I'm going to rejoin on you. They come back, they declare a physiological emergency. The flight doc on Friday tells the story because he met the jet when they landed that it was something about Mary. The zipper on his liner, he didn't put his fucking
How'd
junk
you get the
away.
beans above the Franks?
Yeah, he didn't put his junk away. And when he pulled the G, the zipper on the liner rolled down somehow and caught his junk in the zipper. And so he was attached to his the zipper in his liner.
And he
That is a call sign.
couldn't get it undone.
He couldn't get it undone.
Oh, wow.
The flight doc had to actually cut the liner off and then take him back to flight med to
What was
Oh,
that?
my Lord.
open up the teeth so that they didn't have to cut skin or something.
Dude, what did this guy
it was
get named?
horrible. Well, Chop for can't handle own penis. But
Okay. Thank God he got named something good out of that.
but
Honey, guess what my call sign is?
yeah. So anyways.
No, so I get to Hill and Skippy Langford.
Yeah, I know Skip.
Skip is the wing patch.
Skip was the commandant at the weapons school. Or no, sir. He's the Viper Division commander when I went through weapons school.
Awesome. Greatest ever. My squadron, the Rams, were all downrange doing Desert Fox. I need to go through MQT. Sortie 1 is BFM. Go over to see Skip. He's over in the wing weapons. Get a brief from him the day before. Do all the things. He's like, we're fight, pit, fight tomorrow. In a clean Block 40 G. And I'd been at Luke with Pratt's. That you can get rid of this right now and then fight under 3 Gs for the rest of the fight. So we get out there, and part of my prep was to stay hydrated to excess. So I drank 4 Gatorades. I'm in the brief, pounding water, doing all the things, maybe a cup of coffee in there. Not experienced enough to take a leak before we step, because I want to step on time, and it's still taking me a while to get all my stuff on.
Yeah,
Figure out where to go.
Yeah.
And
Stressful enough.
put my piddle packs in my flight suit.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. So we get out, turn circle entry on the first set, and you feel that bladder pushing on your bladder, and it's like, oh, full sortie worth of that, and I'm done. We go back to the pits. We're sitting there in the pits, and where you figure you can waggle your legs and it'll go away. And we get out on the second sortie, and it's physical pain and tears. And I'm like,
nary a piddle pack.
Yeah.
nothing.
Oh,
And it is coming out of my eyeballs, and I'm like, Skippy, we need to go home. And he's like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Dude. Figure it out. And we're just doing 3Ks.
Just some fighter pilot shit, man.
Yeah.
That's all the problem.
Why don't you grow up? So we get back to the pits, and I look over and I'm like,
I got to shut down.
I've got to shut down. He's like, nope.
Yeah.
Got to figure it out, because we got a flying hour program to manage, right? And this 0.7 is going to be a big part of it. Not really, but so unzip, crack the canopy, and for those that don't know, the engine inlet for the F-16 is right underneath where you sit. So if you crack the canopy, it makes a air venturi, and it sucks everything out of the cockpit down into the engine.
That's not strapped down.
Yeah, parse it back. So diligently get everything taken off my knee board, all the things, everything's tied down, and get a foot up over the glare shield, get everything hanging in the crack in the canopy that I lift up, and it creates a venturi, and it goes over the side, piss into the engine and all, and he is just over there, and you can't see it. He's got his visor down, but his mouth is just like, what? And he is dying laughing.
You're like, I solved the problem.
Yeah. So squadron comes back a month later. I do my naming, and I get whiz like right out of the chute, hey, dude, this is going to happen. So they name me Wiz, and probably a month later, we're at Nelson. I do something galactically stupid, and Metal Henkelman walks up to me and goes, hey, we're doing a naming tonight, and this is the way this is
You're on the
board, and you're hustling being
yeah, dude. He goes, you should go to the Class 6. I'm like, okay. Call me up in the naming, and they're like, all right, man, you're going to be Francis or Psycho, whichever one you want. All right. And he goes, you can try to buy stuff off of the table, but this is the way this is going to go. And what had happened is they made me the chief of scheduling at the Rams. And what I didn't know is my DO was going in all weekend in between Monday and Friday after the schedule had been sold and moving pucks around. And every Monday it was a train wreck. And it was Randy Bright, not so. catch him in there, and I'm like, dude, boss, if you touch my shit again, I'll kill you. And I'm a captain.
Yeah.
He's a colonel.
Yeah.
Doesn't get mad about that, but he's like, ooh, you know, and you could see he wanted to say something about it, and it just came back around at the naming. It's like, yeah, Francis. So
Nice.
he got it. But yeah, that was Francis and Wiz. I mean, I ran out of money that I had to spend on patches and getting my RMO engraved and mugs and
Yeah, no
stuff
doubt,
like
right?
that. Just keep
Getting it
firing
all
away.
squared back away.
Yeah, crazy. I think that covers defecating and urinating in the cockpit. So check that one off.
Kind of sorry that I asked.
Yeah, mortified. Hey, this one time, never mind.
After you pissed out of the cockpit, by the way, every crew chief and weapons troop out there is going Francis, updating their people to kill list. Did you at least go back up and win the fight after that?
Doubtful.
God,
you got to know this guy.
See, that would be
just unbelievable.
That would
things that you
that'd have been great.
Do, you would learn
the first two stories I had to pee. Now that I've peed, fight's on, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
That happened to me at weapons school. We were getting ready to go do a SAT sortie or something. It was going to be long too because we were hitting the tanker and did not pre-flight my helmet bag. And I always peed before we took off after getting armed up. So we're down in EOR. I pull my helmet bag out and I'm like, hand in one pocket. Get. Hand in the other pocket. You know? And so I'm like, okay, what do I do? And so, well, I had a Gatorade bottle in my bag, right? So I grabbed my Gatorade bottle, I cracked the canopy, I poured my Gatorade bottle out the side, seat up, seat safe, seat up, zip, filled up my Gatorade bottle, and the rest was history.
Some lessons are best learned the hard way.
Just didn't have anything to drink for 2.5 hours.
It is amazing how much urine a flight suit and G suit will absorb, though.
Yeah. Oh, is it? You know this?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know that either.
The great thing about being in a two-place cockpit is while one guy is doing something like that, the other guy can be actually still flying and employing the plane.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have to worry about running seats up and all that kind of crap.
Yeah, you had to be careful in the Viper, especially airborne, because safe to seat, man.
Lots of stuff.
You accidentally grab something wrong or hook something on something and don't realize it.
This is something that aggravated
in the chute.
Something that aggravated the shit out of me when I went from strikes to Vipers was they were both Aces 2 ejection seats, and for I don't know 1,500 hours I'd been stepping in that goddamn seat, and then I show up to Luke and they're like, "Don't step in the seat."
We don't step on the seat.
What the fuck? It's an ejection seat. Who gives a shit, right?
Same,
don't step in the seat. Same but different. It's the same goddamn seat.
Yeah. Don't step on it.
Whatever. You guys bore me. When I this is something else that tickled me was when I showed up, there was this cool thing, this really audacious thing called the Viper Standard Game Plan. I hate it. Oh, it's what everybody else calls 3-1.
Well,
yeah, but the Vipers have to be special and have their Viper Standard Game Plan.
It's a patch employment tactic. Keeps these guys thinking really good about it.
I know. Casting in an OPR bullets goes, watch this. We're going to copy paste the 3-1. We're going to call it Viper Standard Game Plan. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. I sat in with a patch the other day that starts going on about, hey man, this is really cool. Like, you know, we're getting to the point where we're gonna have a bunch of fourth gen guys out in the lane and like 1 5th-gen guy that's gonna be quarterbacking the whole thing, and he's just gonna be telling people like where to go and what to do and how to employ. And this guy goes on for like 15 minutes about this, and these B coursers are sitting there with their fucking eyes as big as dinner plates going, oh wow, tell us more and all this shit. And when he was done, I was like, hey man, do you realize that you just explained the 2010 3-1? Like, we've been doing this shit for 15 fucking years.
No, it's different.
Yeah. No, it's I did this. That makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Right?
He's like, wait, did you have 5th-gen in 2010? Yes, we did.
Yeah, fuck. God dang, dude.
Then why? Never mind.
Yeah.
We literally wrote the book. We through DMO and going to Wessups and shit, we literally wrote the book on this 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah. Link 16 is a wonderful thing.
I know. Because he had a patch on his arm, though. Those damn B coursers were like, ooh,
easy.
Remember when Bonsai Watkins was the commander of the Ducks? I think, DO or something. He made us go out, calm out,
Oh, really?
and do the Vipers, and it's amazing how it works.
It does.
Everybody
Like,
just
if you
shoots what they're supposed to shoot. And,
Dude, if you can get people to shut the fuck up on the radio, it's amazing how well that thing works.
Yeah, we'd just gotten the link and all that, and you just look down and go, huh. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to.
It's not even that. It's not the Viper standard game plan. It's the fucking tactics that are written down. If you just shut your mouth and do them, we do it all the time.
Yeah.
We'll take like one at the end of a DCA or a TI set when I got a bunch of experienced guys. We'll just go, all right, guys, this one's calm out. Just fucking use the shit that you got on your screens. Use the SA that you have. And lo and behold, everybody fucking dies and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the best sims that I ever did, we showed up. It was going to be a 2-ship. It was a mission EPE for the group commander. And my squadron commander and me were going to be number 2. And obviously, God, what was his name? I can't remember his fucking name now. OG and like a 5,000 hour Patch Wizzo was going to be number 1, right? So it's Patch, Roscoe. And we showed up at the sim building. We got there like 5 minutes early. OG comes in, sets his brick down and goes, okay, guys, 3-1 standard. Any questions? Nope. All the targets got serviced. Everybody survived. Threat reactions were awesome. All the bad guys died. All the targets were bombed. Come back to the debrief and it's like, I got nothing. All right, Q1, no downgrades. I mean, just shut your mouth and do the shit, man.
Yeah.
Don't make it something it's not.
No, you only need to talk when you need to make a smart audible.
We get so wrapped up in the dog and pony show, though.
Deck it every mile,
all
the way
and
in.
ask for a picture a million times, Francis. Like fucking that same original story, right? So we're in the ACMI thing. We're in the ACMI thing, right? And it's the standard fucking Dark Star picture. And I'm like, dude, you're fucking 60 miles. What do you care what the picture is?
You're not going to see it further than 40 miles.
What he didn't know, I was doing some upper level shit. It's called mass. I was doing something.
You can't see them on your radar. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
They're on the tanker.
Picture. I'm like, oh.
It was good.
Yeah.
Dark Star picture. Single fucking group. There's one group. That's it. Just one.
And then wait 5 seconds and declare it.
Dark Star declare single group. Damn it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can always tell the Viper guys in the Sims nowadays because they deck like every fucking group individually. I'm like, motherfucker, all right, Dark Star midnight. I'm done. I'm done talking.
Figure it out.
Yeah, that was good times. Good times.
We got admonished the other day because we have, I would say that the preponderance of TXers that we have come to the F-35 is probably mostly Viper guys. Maybe that's a product of Luke. I don't know. Maybe it's a CAF thing. I don't know why, but we probably see more Viper guys than anyone just per capita, right? And for that reason, and almost all of the instructors, probably 80% of the instructors up there of the CIPs are all former Viper guys. So we get into this habit of saying, just Viper standard. The HOTAS, it's kind of like the Viper standard, right? You team us, you do this thing. And so we got admonished the other guy from the A10 bubbas, those fuck faces, who fucking don't understand what Viper standard is. They've never shot AMRAAMs. They have no idea anything about radar theory. Yeah, so now it's back to fucking, God, not just mech. Like, how does a radar work? What is this? Fucking electrons and shit. Yes, they don't understand the basics of any of that shit. So now you got to go back to fucking caveman.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
The files are in the computer.
Seriously, it's... You mean that there's shit that goes out the front of my airplane and comes... Yeah.
Yeah, you can't just point your nose at the ground and drop things on things.
I just pull the trigger out. We don't even have to put the reticle on it. We just get the reticle close, and the reticle does the rest of the work. It's like they referred to the reticle in the third person like Raptor does. It's fucking, yeah. Anyways,
awesome.
I digress. Fuck those A10 guys. Sorry, all the A10 guys. I'm sorry. Shouldn't have said that.
Well, they're out of a job in a year anyway.
Hey. Yeah, so what's the word on that?
I've been saying
Strike Eagles are going down by half.
I think it's legit because I know a kid that's down at Tucson that's a electric back shop for the A10, and they're all getting kind of retasked and repurposed.
Costo was saying the same thing when he was on. Yeah.
So I think 2026 is when the last squadron goes away.
Are they going away or are they moving somewhere else?
I think they're going away.
Okay.
Dude, they're great for what we were doing in Iraq and Afghanistan. They won't survive the first day in any peer competitor war that we have going on.
Well, they were built for a purpose, and then we modified that purpose and made them good at something else. And I mean,
times just surpassed them.
Yeah, Strike Eagles are getting cut in probably half or so, taking all the 220 jets and mothballing those guys and keeping the 229s. And I haven't really heard anything on the grapevine about how many of the EXs they're going to build up.
Yeah, I haven't either.
And they got a few. They're flying down at test. I got a couple bros down there that are testing those things out. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff. And then I guess there's I heard something the other day about they're running out of ramp space at Fort Worth for all the F-35s that failed inspection that the Air Force won't accept. So yeah, I mean, shit's going great for the United States Air Force.
Wow.
So
Killing it.
yeah. Yeah.
Sounds like Boeing.
Yeah, we're doing really good.
Yeah.
Hey, so you've been a fan of the podcast for a little bit, right?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Favorite episode? And don't say anything with Alicia or Katie on it because that's fucking cheating.
I got to
I stopped him dead in his tracks.
There were a lot of episodes prior to having them on. So the listening population got to know the two of you in your roles that way in the podcast. But then you bring those two into it, and they're like random stuff that you would say, hey, my wife, this or that, leading up to that episode. I think that episode kind of put a bow on it.
Where you got to kind of meet them and
meet them, see the part of you that's the way that you are for a reason. There's like a chunk of you there that they fill in, at range, and you're like, oh,
now it makes sense.
I got it.
Yeah. So we should do another wives episode then.
Yeah, we should.
You know how you guys are dragging your knuckles to the fight, and then they roll in and go, yeah, this is this. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Two very intelligent women, and just listen to their 2 cents on things. I thought was pretty cool. And I think that episode had some heavier stuff in it too. If I don't remember, that was kind of cool to see the way you guys manage your worlds.
We like to see their perspective on things too, because they get a different point of view sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the topics kind of blend together: emotional accountability, goals, all of these different topics as the podcast got rolling kind of blended into each other.
Yeah, they do. There's a lot of
there's a
bleed over.
common thread to all of them that made it super easy to kind of apply the things that you guys were talking about.
Yeah.
If you cared, right? If you were like, yep, this stuff is resonating with me. And we did the beta group, and that was awesome. But dude, I hate to say it, they're a lot cooler than you two are. So I'm feeling
definitely a lot prettier.
that. And actually, they're paying me to say this, so it all kind of works out.
That's cool. Whatever.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first time Katie paid a dude. So.
$10 is $10.
That's right. Hey, you want to make $10 the hard way? Yeah. No, dude, I think you hit on something right there, and it's kind of funny. You said you were talking about the common thread. One of the sayings that I had in my household as my boys were, I was proud dad of boys, right?
Okay.
I'm a boy dad through and through. Don't know what it's like to raise a girl, but
I'll sell you one if you want.
No, I'm good.
Okay, I'll give
good.
it to you.
It's been a long time since I paid for a girl, so I'm going to keep that streak going. Now, I one of the sayings that we always had was just be a good dude, right? And I think it's really hard to define that sometimes, and maybe it's a little subjective, but I think through the course of the podcast, one of the learning curves that I've had is I think I've got a pretty decent definition of that, and it's all the little things that we talk about. And I talk about the big O knot, tying that big O knot, and how much we comment all the time about how I think we talk in circles a lot of times because we keep coming back. I mean, just in this hour and 22 minutes, we've talked about humility. We've talked about credibility. We've talked about accountability. We've talked about all this stuff. And I really think that when I boil it down to it, if I had to tell my boys, just be a good dude, I would refer them back to, hey, listen to these episodes, man, because this is how you do that.
That's
like,
just
it's not just a platitude.
It's like platitude until you define it.
Until you define it, right? And now I can go back and I can give them examples, and I have tangible shit written down, or at least out there in the multiverse that they can listen to and see how to be a good dude. And we saw the feedback from Tyler and David, and those guys are picking that stuff up, man. Yeah. And that to me is a lot of fun.
Yeah. That was the slam dunk when they both came around that one day. And
wasn't that cool?
Actually applying it, and all the old farts are sitting there going, what?
Whoa.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah, what if I'd have done this 30 years ago? It'd been awesome.
Yeah. Light bulb came on.
Yeah. Now you can tell that both of those kids, man, when they had those announcements, you could see just the pride that they had in themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's, Katie and I were talking about it just a couple of weeks ago. Tyler called us. He passed his PT test for the police academy.
Awesome.
And it's awesome. Yeah, great. Kudos to him. But what I could tell was he's proud of himself.
Yeah.
Right.
For the first time in that young man's life, he did something on his own and he fucking crushed it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I talk about when I talk about getting the small victories, man. Yep. Just get a small victory, dude. Set a small goal and win. Well, and then set another goal and win that. And you start to build that momentum. And when you get that momentum going, now you're like fucking King Kong, dude. Like nothing's going to stand in my way of doing this shit.
And he has rolled down there though to go, okay, this is a win. But he's, like we all do, looking for the next, he's not done with this win as he's rolling up and going, okay, what's next?
Yeah, what's out
it's
in front
the
of me
standard
next?
Human reaction. But there's a lesson to learn in the win that you can miss completely as you roll up to look for the next thing. And that's, hey, I passed my PT test. All right, man, how do you feel about that? Well, shut up. I'm not going to talk about emotion. No, I want to know, not really because I want to know. I want you to acknowledge how you feel about that win.
We had that in it. We talked about it.
Let's take a breath here and see how you feel about that and how important that is to you. Now take that like an iPug nugget.
Yeah.
Drag that to the next thing.
Yeah.
And how great is that going to feel when you're hanging from the rim on that one?
Yeah.
With what you learned in this one.
Well, and it goes back to what we've talked about before too. And we were talking about this earlier when you were talking about doubt, like, dude, you're going to have doubt. We all have doubt, especially when we're getting outside of our comfort zone and we're looking at doing something that's challenging, right? You're going to doubt yourself. You're going to doubt your abilities and your capabilities. The difference is, does that doubt prevent you from moving into it? Does that doubt prevent you from still performing at the highest level that you can? That's where doubt becomes an issue. You're going to feel it, but you can't let it control how you attack the problem or whether or not you do step out. And I mean, and those are some of the things that Tyler's overcome, right? He's stepping out of his comfort zone. He's creating opportunity for himself.
Well, but that's the confidence that comes along with that too.
It is.
I mean, it's scary. Sometimes it's scary. And I've got some shit going on right now that I don't know how it's going to work out. And I doubt. And dude, I have imposter syndrome really fucking bad.
Nice.
In a lot of ways, I have imposter syndrome bad. So sometimes though, what I've learned over the years is sometimes, man, just fucking put blinders on and press forward. And you don't worry about what's going on out here. You just fucking, here it is. I'm just going. And you get to the other side and you kind of go, oh, well,
okay. Yeah, I'm okay.
That worked out.
Yeah.
I'm good. Okay.
Yeah.
But that builds confidence, right? And it's those small victories, man. And in his case, that's a fucking giant victory. But it's the little things. Like he called me. It was after the PT test. He and I were talking, and he says, "Hey, man, like based on the stuff that we've talked about here and in our group." He said, I've already identified the 3 or 4 knuckleheads in the group, and I'm just gonna not even going that direction. You can tell that these guys aren't taking it serious, or maybe they're too cocky or bloviated or whatever it is. But he's like, yeah, I'm not going to associate with those guys. I've got a couple of dudes over here. We're going to motivate each other to keep our PT up and shit like that. So he's starting to form his little circle.
Yeah.
And those guys are going to be like a fucking bowling ball right through the fucking police academy. It's going to be great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How cool would that be if what you guys did with that podcast directly drove that life change?
Yeah.
I would never take credit for that.
It's not about you, but to know that there was something so big like that they took and went, dude, I'm going to throw down.
Yeah, well, that's the hope, and obviously
that is so cool.
Other people still have to do the work, but the hope of the podcast has always been that, it helps guys figure that out, and find that courage over comfort to get outside of their comfort zone and to get in the fucking arena and to get muddy and dirty and not worry about the failure, but just get in the process and
keep pulling,
do the best you can. Yeah.
Well, none of the shit that we've said on this show in 50 fucking episodes now, nothing has been like original thought.
Earth-shattering.
Well, it's not original thought. It's all, we get this stuff from other places. We read up on it. We study up on it. We kind of put some pieces together, or we draw some lines of parallel here and there. This stuff has been around for centuries and decades and millennia, right? I mean, the Stoics talked about all this shit back in the day. The difference between those two kids, though, is they've got a little maturity and a little life experience now, and they look at the stuff that we're spitting and they go, oh, wait a minute. there's actually some value in that.
Yeah, it's
shit.
starting to
That's
click.
exactly what
There's
because we said that in the beta group.
Yeah.
Is they must, you were asking a question one day about how do we get people to buy into this? They have to find value in
Yeah,
it.
they do.
Well, and for whatever reason,
Yep.
if it's selfish, fine. If it's, self-improvement, fine. But what is value? You can't define value because it's different for each person.
Right.
But
No, but
that word just came out of your mouth. He values.
They saw the tangible piece of it, though.
Yeah.
Like
how I can apply this to my life.
This is a bunch of old guys sitting around, words, shit. Fucking CAS gave us homework again.
Yeah.
But then
crayons.
But then they saw something tangible. They saw it. They got a certificate, or they got an invitation, or they figured out a way to navigate a problem that they were doing. And they look back on the podcast and they go, well, fuck, I learned that out of episode 25 or whatever it was.
They started to apply it, and then they realized that, holy shit, it worked.
There's something to
this.
This
is what that looks like. I learned that lesson in episode 25. A few weeks down the road, this is what it looks like in application.
Yeah. And we've talked about too about how this stuff it's not an overnight thing.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff you might have to work on for fucking years, man. I mean, in a lot of ways, I'm still working on a lot of this shit. And the goal setting process is an ongoing thing. It seems like every week I'm setting a new fucking goal of some sort. Maybe it's, a gym goal or a nutrition goal or a creative goal that I'm working on, whatever it is. But that's an ongoing thing, and you get better at it the more reps you do. And thankfully for us in our career field, we got to do that every day, multiple times, several thousands of reps at setting goals, setting objectives, go out and execute. Did you meet it? Yes or no? Debrief it. And I think that for the people who don't get that kind of exposure, it just takes a lot of time to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of practice. But once you kind of figure it out, man, it's like problem solving. It's really not that cosmic.
It gets easier as you do it.
Yeah. And it takes a while.
But it does take time.
And I think one of the problems is when you're in a fighter squadron and the bar is there are very close walls on either side for standards of execution. And you do not get out inside of them or you wash out. When you stop being that or you join the real world, would you say the real world's bar for a standard of excellence is lower?
It is.
It is. Because in the real world, we allow things like excuses.
Yeah.
And it's okay. You still look good.
Yeah.
Or your Instagram's awesome. It's okay. Right. And so for us, we finished, our fighter pilot career and then get out into the real world and like, you guys got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Right. Especially ours. That's a weird world.
Yeah,
to
it
be
is, man. But the point in that, though, and we've talked about this, is you set a standard higher for yourself.
Yes.
Than what's going on around you, whether that's at work or whatever, dude. Over time, people will notice that. And that's also how you create opportunity, right? That's where you're outperforming, you're out working, you're out doing, and you're the guy that gets the promotion. You're the guy that they're moving up the line, that's moving forward.
Yeah. In our case, in a fighter squadron, a lot of times, it was easier, I think, to hold ourselves to a standard because it's life or death in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
There's people on the other end of that missile. There's people on the other end of that bomb.
Mm-hmm.
But in the real world, the trick, I think that the hardest thing to do is on a personal level, bring that level of excellence to yourself.
Yeah.
And that's really hard because we all fall into that trap, man. We talked about it in the group. We were talking about it's easy to eat the fucking Twinkie, man. Yep. It's much harder to say no to the fucking Twinkie. And this is 2 days in a row now, Thursday. And then today I've walked into the break room and there's a whole fucking plate full of fat pills there. Big old cupcakes with fucking sprinkles and shit. And oh God, I really want a fucking cupcake. It's so hard to say no to that stuff. But I think the more you do it, and the more you get accustomed to holding yourself accountable and you go, no, man, this is my personal line. And maybe I'm allowed one cupcake a week and today ain't the day.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
Yep.
Yeah. I do what I say I'm going to do.
Yes.
Well, that's the dumbest thing. My wife looks at me and goes, well, it's okay. And it's not okay.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? Because I said I was going to do it.
Yeah.
Well, integrity. One definition of discipline, of self-discipline, is making yourself not do the things that you really want to do.
Yeah.
Or making yourself do the things you really don't want to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a form of it.
The fight within.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Woo. What else, man?
That's all I got. What you got,
Francis?
I don't know. Somebody get some food and let's keep going.
Food. All right. DoorDash is on you. But
yeah, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yeah,
appreciate having you, man.
No, we'll have you back.
It's good. Yeah, we'll have you back to tell your story.
Park around the corner next time.
Yeah.
Cool, dude. I know you've got some stories about resiliency and adversity in your life. So
I do. Those are long stories.
Yeah.
Talk about bringing it down.
we'll definitely have you back for a more serious conversation.
Right on.
Yeah, man. Cool, dude. What do you got?
Be the change.
Be the one. Thanks for flying with the Be One Change One podcast. If you got something out of this show, then be the one and share it in your circles of influence.
You can be our wingman through our website at www.be1change1.com. That's B and the number 1, change and the number 1.com.
We invite you to be the one and join our fighter squadron on social media at Be1Change1 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can follow us at Paul Roscoe White on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, as well as Roscoe's website, www.paulroscoewhite.com.
You can email us from the website and please leave comments, share, and ask questions, or leave ideas of things you would like to discuss on future podcasts. Most importantly, be the one that helps us win the algorithm by leaving a review on whatever platform you're listening on.
Thanks for joining. Until next time, be the one.